Hey everybody, this is Jason Akers again with Akers Pest Control, local to Charlottesville and Lynchburg, Virginia. I've been doing pest control all my life. I know it's Friday the 13th today, and normally on Fridays I release a how to do, pest control yourself or kill cockroaches or something like that. And today I'm going to tell because of being Friday the 13th, I'm going to tell some of the scariest stories that I've probably ever dealt with being an exterminator. The first story isn't really so much scary, it's more of just nasty, gross, disgusting, horrible, just probably the nastiest thing I've ever done in my career. I was probably about 17 years old, and I had to do, a house had a problem with termites and moisture underneath the house. So what happened is the guy that owned the house before had he had dogs that used to have free roam of the house, and these were some pretty good sized dogs. They were really big dogs, and he didn't really leave his house for very much at all. He would he kind of more or less he was a hermit, and when he died he didn't really have any family to leave the home to, and so he left it to his law firm. And he, when he would want to clean up after the dogs, he had these holes drilled in his floor throughout the house. They were about 1 foot in diameter. And he would come and bring the water hose in, and he would wash all of the poop into the crawl space. And the crawl space didn't have any ventilation at all. So, normally where you'd have your little vent holes every so many feet in order to allow for the air to circulate under the house and keep things at a, moderately dry, he had none. And so all that water that was washed under the house, it became a soupy, nasty, sewagey mess all up under the house. And so what happened was when the law firm bought the house, they had to have it treated for termites, and they needed a vapor barrier put down. Now, a vapor barrier is like a little piece of plastic that you lay down over the ground to keep the moisture from rising up into the floorboards, because the mold under the house was so severe because of the guy washing, fecal matter down into the crawl space. And I had to crawl through that, and it was so bad. I can still smell it today, and I'm, 35 years old. And so it was disgusting. Basically, the way I did it is you'd roll the plastic out, you just roll it flat underneath the crawl space, and then you crawl on top. Now, if you've ever rolled out plastic before, typically it's one big sheet that's been folded like 4 or 5 times, and you can kind of unfold it like that as you crawl across of it, and you don't actually have to crawl through the dirt or grime or whatever it is you're laying the plastic over. And so I crawled out over it, and it was like, and it would suck your knees into the ground, and it was just the smell, the everything. There was nothing good about it at all. And so that was pretty horrifying. I thought that was probably the nastiest, worst thing I've ever done. And also, another story. This is going to be about maybe 4 stories I've written down here that I could remember some of the worst things that have ever happened to me. One time, I went to I used to do a motel. I still treat the motel. And I was probably 17, 18 years old. And this is, something else happened when I was about 17 or 18 years old. And the way it worked, it was like, I don't know what you call it, a no-tell motel, what a lot of people call them. It's basically a place, it's a rent-by-the-week hotel. It's not the most, it's a pretty shady establishment, let's just put it that way. There's indoor rooms, and then there's a whole stretch, like an L shape that kind of went around the rest of the building of outdoor rooms. And so the way that the was set up is I go and do I started doing the outdoor rooms, and there was this guy that used to live in number 4. And he was probably 70, 80 years old, and he didn't like to wear clothes, so he was like always naked in there, and he was butt naked. I'm gonna try not to curse, but he was naked as a jaybird. Every time I'd go in this guy's apartment, I'd knock on the door, or room, or whatever you want to call it, knock on the door, and he'd be like, hold on, don't come in here, I'm naked in here, let me put a robe on. And he put a robe on, and he'd be like, spray over here and spray over there, and his robe would be swinging back and forth, and I never saw nothing. But anyway, the 1 month that I'm talking about in particular, I had to go in this guy's room, and he didn't answer the door, and so I didn't go in there, because I'm not about to walk in on some naked man, especially 70-80-year-old naked man in there. I didn't want to walk in on him. So I got a call that night. I was just about ready to go to bed. It was probably 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I was getting ready to go to bed because I had to be up early to work my route the next day. And so my father hollered down for me because the phone had rang, and he said, this guy wants to know why you didn't do in that room. He's a landlord. He's like, he wants to know why you didn't do in that room back there. And I said, well, Dad, because the guy was naked, and I don't walk in on some dumb pervert in there because I'm just a kid, I don't walk in on anybody like that. And he said, oh, well, you could have gone in there. That man was dead. He was dead in the bed, covered up. You wouldn't have even seen anything. So anyway, that's about the time I almost ran in on some dead guy and the naked man. That's what everybody called him, was the naked man. And then there was it's a story about this little boy that went to school. Now, they had a really bad roach-infested house. The house was pretty severely infested with cockroaches. And the little boy went to school one day, and he was sitting in class, and his ear started to hurt like he had an earache. So he went to the teacher, and he told the teacher, look, my ear hurts. It's got an earache. I need to go home. So they took him to the nurse's office, and they used one of those little, those little ear things like they use at the doctor, and they shined a light inside his ear, and they found that he had a cockroach egg inside his head, and the egg had hatched, and the little baby cockroaches were crawling all around inside his ear, and it's pretty disgusting. And so they had to go in there with saline and rinse the ear out, and the Department of Social Services was going to take the little boy away because the house was so infested with cockroaches that the roaches were crawling inside his head and laying eggs in his ear. And so that's just an example of how they can get really extremely bad, and I think that's pretty horrific. I don't know of anybody that would really want a cockroach crawling inside their ear, laying eggs in their ear. That definitely sounds like something that could be in a horror movie. I think it would terrify Jason on Friday the 13th anyway. And now for my final story, and this is kind of like two stories in one. It's a bed bug story. There was a guy that I did a bed bug job for recently. I mean, it hadn't been real recent. It's been, about maybe 7, 8, 9 months ago. And I reached over to, now to walk in his apartment, you wouldn't be able to tell that he had bed bugs. It didn't seem like a real severe bed bug infestation at all. And just so you know, I'm sorry if this is scaring anybody. This is my snake. He's hanging out with me today because it's Friday the 13th. And so anyway, that's my daughter's little toy, and so I thought I'd wear him today because it's Friday the 13th. But anyway, so this guy had a really pretty clean apartment, and I walked into the apartment, and I started treating the beds and everything for the bed bugs that he had, and flipping the mattresses and the box springs and all, and inspecting and trying to find them, and I couldn't really find any. And I went into the master bedroom, and I started turning up the beds in there, and there was one bed. I reached to grab the tag to flip the bed up, and I'm not kidding, I got pretty large hands. All over the palm of that hand right there, I put my hand right into a nest of bed bugs, and they were crawling all over my hand. All up, started making their way up my arm, and it was pretty bad. It freaked me out. I jumped back. Oh, it's bed bugs all over me. And the guy that was helping me in the apartment, he's like, what happened? What happened? And I showed him. I was like, look at these things. They're crawling all over my hand. Look at them. They're awful. And I said, no wonder you guys are getting eaten up with bed bugs. Look how bad they are. And so, but that's not the worst part. So later on that weekend, I was at home, and my wife was wanting me to rearrange some beds and move some bedrooms around and stuff. And so I went up. And I was messing around in her bedroom, and I picked up. Actually, this was probably a couple weekends after that. I picked up we have a king size bed because I'm about 6'2" and I need a big bed to sleep in. I'm too tall, and so I was moving the bed, and my son was helping me, and he pointed out and he said, "Dad, I think that's a bed bug." And so I said, there's no way. I've infested my house with bed bugs. There's no way. And so I lifted the bed up, and sure enough, on the box spring, between the bed and the box spring, there was a casing. Now, for y'all that don't know, bed bugs molt. They shed their skin 5 times in their lifetime before they become adults. And they're kind of like a snake, or, cockroaches do it, snakes do it. When they get too large for the skin they're in, they shed it, and they have, skin underneath. So, yeah, so the exoskeleton of a bed bug is shed 5 times over their lifetime, and I found this casing, and I was like, there's no way. I've done infested my house with bed bugs. I freaked out. Of course, I moved the mattress. I don't even think I moved the box spring at all because I freaked out so bad. And so I I pulled, on a king-size bed, there's 2 foundations under a king-size bed because of the size. So right down the middle of that, where the 2 foundations meet. And this is a good tip for y'all, too, if you're interested in knowing. That's a good place to find bed bugs if you've got a king-size bed. Between the 2, you pull them apart, and where those 2 foundations meet in the middle, you can find casings there. You can find eggs. You can find bed bugs there. And I pulled them apart. Sure enough, there were casings there as well. And so I freaked out. I absolutely freaked out. And for the whole weekend, I didn't get any sleep. I sprayed my whole house. I treated my entire house for bed bugs. I flipped up every bed in the house. I treated every bed in the house. I could not find a live bed bug at all. And so Sunday rolled around, and I got up Sunday morning. It was probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I started looking at stuff on the internet, and I found a picture of a carpet beetle, and how carpet beetles are mistaken for bed bugs pretty regularly because they like to get around the bed fibers. They like to live in your carpets, and they like natural fibers and things beds are made out of. And so I went searching, and lo and behold, I found carpet beetles alive down between the baseboard and the carpet and in the windowsill, right where my bed sits. Because I don't know if you could tell right here behind me, this curtain here, this is a window. And I sit right up against the window whenever I do a lot of my videos. I'm sitting right here in the bed with my pillows up behind my back so I can sit up straight and where I can be comfortable. And so, yeah, they're right here, right where I'm sitting, I found live carpet beetles. And, well, they were dead carpet beetles because what I had treated for with for the bed bugs killed all the carpet beetles. And so we haven't had any more carpet beetles since. We haven't had any bed bugs. But that was a horrible, terrifying thing to have happen to me in my own house. And it is very terrifying to think that you could infest yourself with bed bugs. As bad as those people had them crawling all over my hand, the last thing I wanted is them crawling all over me in the bed. So, and that's my last story. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I know it's a little different than what I usually do. It's, more of a humorous thing. But these are true stories, real life things that have happened to me. If y'all liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you really liked it, subscribe to my channel so you can see all of my crazy, kooky videos. I'm on Facebook, Akers Pest Control LLC. And I also have a website, greenacrespc.com. That's Akers spelled Akers. That's my last name. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all next week.